you say I do need insurance. What exact type of policy would you say is right for me? Like, what kind of question should I be asking? Because I get nervous when I am talking about things I don't know, so it can kind of be easy to just go with the flow sometimes.
Yeah, I think what you're really going to want is you're going to want an agent that you feel comfortable asking questions to. They should be a source of knowledge for you, and they really should be asking you a lot of questions. I would ask you, what kind of things do you have? Where are your biggest expenses right now? What kind of job are you going into? What kind of field? What kind of money are you going to be making? You don't have to get specific with me, but we always give our clients a worksheet so they can put in what their future earnings are going to be. For young professionals, that's their number one asset that's in jeopardy on a liability standpoint that they don't think about. You'll cover your property with the renters, but you don't think, oh, I probably need some liability coverage. I probably should up that on my renter's policy where it's combined, and then I should probably get an umbrella policy. A lot of young people say, I don't have anything, they can't take anything. Future earnings for the next 5 years, you could earn, a lot of money that can all just go to a lawsuit. You can be working for somebody else for the rest of your life for one, sad decision or one moment where you just weren't looking in a car. Something could happen really fast. So we always talk about where those assets are and where, not only your technology that you have, that's probably, a lot of money there on the property side, the liability exposure you may have, and the future earnings that are going to be at risk if we don't cover that. So it's definitely something to consider as well.
On top of that, so once I were to pick out the right policy and I figure out everything, how do I know how much insurance? I'm sure that there's levels to it. So how do I go about gauging what's right for me, or how do I go about personalizing that, I guess, to generalize it a bit?
If I knew how much insurance everybody needed, I'd be probably in a different role right now. Don, the truth is, you need as much as you can afford, because you never know in a loss how much you're going to lose. A good ballpark, if you're like, well, I could go get a $5 million policy, is that practical? You want to cover your assets. So you want to cover your future earnings. You want to cover anything you have in savings. If you're adding to your 401k, everybody says, oh, you can't touch that. You can't touch my retirement. As soon as you go to liquidate it, they can. If there's a settlement out there, if you go to buy a house one day and there's a settlement, they'll put a lien on that home. It's going to be very difficult. So as a young professional, you want to make sure that you have enough to cover those assets. And as your lifestyle grows, as your portfolio and financial portfolio grows, you want to continue to assess that and look at how much do you really need in terms of liability. Property coverage, there is a little bit of inflation that'll happen every year on a renter's policy, but you want to kind of take a look at that. I would say every 3 years, especially when you're young, you start to acquire a lot more. You get a bigger place, you're really excited. Maybe you go and you get that boat or that ATV. There's coverage for that. You want to make sure as you acquire assets, you're taking care of that, protecting it on the back end, so that if anything happens, you're covered. That's where you want to look to the insurance.